What's going on, guys? It's your boy LQ, Mr. Real Deal Fantasy HQ, fire content only. Here today to talk about Giants' new head coach, Brian Daboll. Giants fans, you should be very excited right now for what's coming for this new season. And look, it's upside for Daniel Jones. Maybe we get a new revamp. Maybe we get a Josh Allen story where he becomes not elite. He'll become, average, above average, whatever the case may be. Because literally the comparison between Josh Allen and Daniel Jones, yeah, the gap is there, put it like that. But you guys should be excited for what's to come for the Giants offense. I definitely think this is a boost for Kadarius Toney. I think it's a boost for Saquon Barkley and maybe Kenny Galladay. We're gonna talk some fantasy. We're gonna talk about the comparison between Daniel Jones and what Brian Daboll brings over to this offense, and hopefully you guys have a decent season, man. So I don't want to waste any more time. So let's get right into the episode. So, Giants fans, Brian Daboll is your new head coach, and what does he bring over to this offense? What are you going to be looking for? I mean, he brings the aggressiveness going downfield, airing the ball out. You're going to see a lot more of that. Josh Allen, he has been that guy that's been able to get the air yards, been able to get the yards completed through the air. He's been able to be at the top of the table when it comes to these stats to the last 2 years. Now, the jump from 2019 to 2020 is so beautiful to see that Josh Allen's able to increase his completion rating, being able to complete, passes longer than 6-7 yards, you know what I mean? As an average, I definitely feel as though, Josh Allen taking that leap from 2019 to 2020 is what made him an elite quarterback. Back-to-back seasons as QB1. Shout out to my boy Josh Allen. Very proud, but all that gets credit to, of course, Brian Daboll, the Giants' new head coach. Now, what does this mean for Daniel Jones? What does this mean for the future for Daniel Jones? Because I definitely feel as though the Giants are on their last leg with Daniel Jones. I mean, he ended the season with a neck injury, so I really don't think it's, an injury concern of where they're wondering if he can stay healthy. It's more for performance. You know what I mean? We have to be honest with ourselves that, Daniel Jones isn't that elite or above average or mid-tier quarterback that we would like, but it's not fair. The dude's only 24, going on 25 years old. Young kid put in a shitty situation with coaching, not the best pieces around him, not the best pieces available around him, dealing with injuries and et cetera, et cetera. Sterling Shepard, Slayton, Saquon Barkley, the best player on their offense dealing with injury, not being available for Daniel Jones. It doesn't help his case to be able to perform at a high level, put it like that. And Kenny Galladay coming over, signing a huge contract, complete waste of money. It just basically didn't pan out this season for him, where he was being basically not utilized or he just wasn't performing at all. So it's basically same. It's just a complete waste of that contract. So moving on to this next season, we can expect a lot of aggressive, plays downfield, a lot of air yards coming out of Daniel Jones, because we've seen Daniel Jones before flash that he can go downfield, but Darius Slayton hitting him down deep and et cetera, et cetera. So I'm definitely here for that, because the Bowl basically had Josh Allen the last 2 years. I want to say that 2019 to 2020 jump is so beautiful to see. Top of the table when it comes to pass attempts. Last season, 2021, top 5 in pass attempts. 2020, he was top 7 in pass attempts. So there's going to be a lot of throwing the ball here. There are going to be a lot of times they're going to be taking shots downfield, and maybe Kenny Galladay, maybe Slayton. Who knows if he's going to be coming back, if he's there, or whatever the case may be. It could be a possible, they bring somebody from the draft. Who knows? But the big interesting increase here for dynasty, for redraft, whatever the case may be, has to be Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney has basically a shot to be activated as a solid wide receiver 2, low-end wide receiver 1, with Daniel Jones playing a good game of football, basically. You know what I mean? So I think the Bowl will be able to scheme him in as the wide receiver 1. Like I said, Kenny Galladay is there. He's probably going to be a supporting role, wide receiver 2. I don't think he's going to take that wide receiver 1 mantle here. If he does, I'll be shocked, to be honest. But I think Kadarius Toney is the guy that, the Bowl should go in, focus in on, and basically try to utilize him all around the field. Like we see Deebo Samuel get used this way. I mean, we've seen freaking McKenzie, from Buffalo get activated under Daboll as well at times, when you basically had to incorporate him basically in the offensive, catching screens behind the line of scrimmage or going downfield and just getting in open space. That's what we kind of want to see out of Kadarius Toney, because he can get it done. He can get the job done. I definitely feel as though, as a Giants fan, not me, but obviously as Giants fans, you should be excited for what's to come. If all your pieces are in line, if they hit the draft to address the O line, because the O line is a huge problem, bottom of the table when it comes to the NFL, and you got two of your guards basically on free agency. Who knows if they come back? You probably could bring them back, but then it's like, they were pretty bad last year as well. So not the best of O line that Dan Jones had to work with. And again, he's coming back from a neck injury. Hopefully, it doesn't hinder him. He had time to rest. I definitely feel as though Daboll needs to go in with this assignment. He needs to understand this assignment, and it should be number one priority. Stop Daniel Jones from fumbling the ball. This needs to be something that needs to be stamped in stone that he will not drop the ball anymore. He will not fumble. These turnovers need to stop because, man, the dude had 37 starts. He has 36 fumbles for a career. This is nuts. Like, he has too many fumbles. It's ridiculous, man. It's to the point where, like, you already need to get your defense just don't let him sit down. He's probably going to fumble the ball or interception. So it's one of those things where Dan Jones needs to hold on to the ball. Stop eating popcorn before the game, bro. Like, come on, like, seriously. So I definitely feel as though, that's something he needs to address at the door. You're not going to drop the ball no more, young man. That's basically the words he needs to say to him, because if you are going to be fumbling the ball, that doesn't help the case, for the ball to come in and be able to make magic. Basically, this is a project for him, to be honest, to try to get this offense, top five, how the Buffalo Bills are right now. So I definitely feel as though they have some of the pieces there. You have Saquon Barkley there. Hopefully he can stay healthy. Like I said, you have, pieces in place where you can make some type of like middle of the table offense that are going to be able to score points. Like, I want to be scared of the Giants again. You know what I mean? I know Giants fans remember that when everybody was scared of the Giants and they were able to take the Super Bowl, take down Brady, and et cetera, et cetera. So I know you guys are waiting to get that feeling back. This may be it. It may be something beautiful to go here. I see the Bowl being there for the next 3 to 4 years if we can get the right pieces there. So hopefully, we can see some type of grab at a draft, for pieces for the future. Or, hey, maybe he brings over Mitch Trubisky because he knows the system. His name has been popping up lately. You know what I mean? It's definitely something we can imagine as some type of option to think about, at least to bring him over, because he knows the system. He's also a mobile-ish quarterback. I definitely feel as though with a year under the ball, he'll be able to learn from Josh Allen, be able to learn the offense and be basically a plug and play there. Or it could give, some Daniel Jones heat under the ass to give him some type of motivation, to give him some type of confidence boost or something, because I feel as though you can't throw all your eggs in one basket with Daniel Jones, being that, he's coming back from neck injury, underperforming, fumbles, interceptions, just too much going on to where, Daniel Jones isn't that close to a Josh Allen. Like, in a way, Brian Daboll's going into a project where he's downgrading a complete offense. So this is definitely a challenge for him, and hopefully he'll be able to activate him. So maybe you do bring in a Mitch Trubisky just to have that safety net, just to know you have a quarterback that's been under you for a year, that knows the system, that knows the offense, and will be able to execute it at a mid-tier to above average level. I'm not going to say high level, because Trubisky itself has his own issues. The damage that's been done to him and his confidence with Matt Nagy, and then going over to Buffalo as a backup behind Josh Allen, it's very humbling, but your confidence isn't as high as it was when you had that team behind you, feeling that you're the QB1 and believe that you can go out there and win the game, and et cetera, et cetera. And that, of course, the coaching backing. So the damage is there to his confidence. So who knows if he's game day ready? He might be practice field ready. He might be ready for competition during camp, but going out week one as a starter over Daniel Jones, I don't know. It's less than likely. You know what I mean? I just don't see it. And then also you have to think about, from the draft capital they spent on Daniel Jones as well. Does the GM, does the front office want to say, hey, let's bring in some competition for Daniel Jones and then start Mitch Trubisky or whatever the case may be? That just looks silly. You know what I mean? It just looks like you screwed up 3-4 years ago on taking Dan Jones, which you probably did, but still, this would just be stamping it in stone that, hey, red flag, we waved the white flag on Daniel Jones. We fucked up. Like, here's Mitch Trubisky to take over the franchise. It's just crazy to think, but just me just throwing names out there as well. I mean, why not Jameis Winston? I mean, you want a guy who's going to be aggressive to go downfield. Winston's your guy, Mr. 30 for 30. You know what I mean? I feel as though Winston will be able to go downfield and throw the ball down to whoever's down there to catch a Kadarius Toney, or, whoever, Saquon Barkley running routes, or whatever the case may be. I definitely feel as though Winston will be, the better, I guess, thrower than Daniel Jones. I feel as though, I'm not going to knock 2019, real life football of basically Jameis Winston, number one in basically pass attempts, number one in yards, 5,000, yard season, passing season. So I'm not going to knock him for that. I definitely feel as though that's something he did and he's able to execute. And no, he's not a mobile quarterback, but he can run if he can. I mean, his first year in the league, he had 6 rushing touchdowns and 50 plus rushing attempts. So Jameis Winston could do it if he had to. Not saying he's going to be good as Josh Allen or even Daniel Jones, but if you want him to do it, he'll do it. You know what I'm saying? Like if you draw something up and he has to run out of the pocket, he'll do it. He'll run as fast as my grandma, but what are we really expecting out of Winston right now? And he just tore his ACL, so he's coming back from injury. So that's why that's less than likely to happen. But it's just something to throw out there to give Dane Jones some fire under his ass, to give him some type of motivation. I definitely feel as though this is it, man. If Dan Jones don't get together this year, Giants are most likely moving on, and I feel as though you can't really fault Brian Daboll his first year as a head coach if he can't get Daniel Jones activated. Like you're giving him something that needs work. You're giving him something for 3 years have been kind of ups and downs and probably like mistreated or confidence not as high as it could be, et cetera, et cetera. So you're basically on for the ride to just see what can happen week one, basically. I really don't think, well, there might be some college. I'm sorry, some coach talk, probably like during OTAs or camp or going into week one that Dan Jones is looking good. Dan Jones is doing this. Dan Jones, blah blah blah. That's usually what happens. But for me, I really need to see Dan Jones take command of this offense and score some touchdowns. I need to see Kenny Galladay active. I need to see Kadarius Toney being utilized all over the field like a Deebo Samuel. He's definitely going to be like the example of like how we should be using our wide receivers that are like Deebo or like a Kadarius Toney. They need to be utilized all around the field. I wouldn't be surprised if I see Kadarius Toney taking something out of the backfield, with Saquon on the sideline. Just activate these players. Just get them in open space. They're a great talent, great hands. I definitely feel as though Kadarius Toney has that home run ability, no matter where he's at on the field. We've seen the game where he went crazy, but it's unfortunate he suffered an injury that kind of cut, his season kind of short and all that momentum. So hopefully, Giants fans, you're excited. I'm excited for you. Now, I want to dip shortly into who to buy, who to sell, dynasty aspects, of course. If you are, let's say, we're going to talk from a shareholder perspective right now. You have these guys on your roster right now. You're more likely to be able to sell a Kadarius Toney right now more than a Kenny Galladay. So if you have a Kenny Galladay, I probably just hold, just sit. There's not much people out there that are looking to get him because they were burned and it just completely wasted contract money, big money. And he was struggling going into camp, if we're not going to remember that. And he had injuries going into camp as well, coming out of camp as well. So it's like, we don't know how healthy Kenny Galladay is. We don't know how motivated he is. He got paid. He's just sitting in limbo, honestly. So if you have a Kenny Galladay, there's not much of a market out there for you to go get. But a Kadarius Toney is an interesting buy right now. So people are just whispering his name, whispering that you can get him for this, you can get him for a second round, and get him for a third round, whatever the case may be that you guys are doing. But right now, I feel like you can get Kadarius Toney right now before the wave hits, before like March, April hits. You get him now for cheap. You get him for a second round or a third round, whatever the case may be, that your league mates are willing to give up. That's what's hard about telling people what the price tag is, because it's all a matter of how your league mates think, how your league mates feel about said player and what they're willing to give up for and what they want in return. So can't really give a price tag right now on Kadarius Toney, but I feel as though he's an interesting buy. But this will be the cheapest right now. You'll be able to get him all season. So definitely think if you have a Kadarius Toney, you could flip him for some players or from some picks or whatever the case may be. Not say players, but for a player or in some picks or whatever the case may be. Whatever package still works for you. Now, if you have Saquon Barkley, I'm holding because I'm actually right now going out to go get a Saquon Barkley. Everybody's down on him. And it's crazy to think in redraft how far he's going to fall in the first round, or if he even in the first round this year. I don't know, but I feel as though he's going at a discount right now. You'll be able to grab him up, and with the Daboll there, he'll be able to use him as a wide receiver, use him obviously as a running back because he's a running back, but use him all over the field as well. I definitely feel as though this offense is going to be aggressive. This is going to be something that Giants fans probably haven't seen in a while. This is something that we honestly been waiting for out of Saquon Barkley, out of Kenny Galladay, out of Kadarius Toney, out of Sterling Shepard, this entire offense, and Daniel Jones. We've been wanting these guys to be on the field at the same time and be able to execute said plays. You know what I mean? So big things are coming for Kadarius Toney, and like I said, if you have Saquon Barkley, I would sit, I will hold, I would just wait, you know what I mean? Because there's people out there buying, and I feel as though they're getting a discount. So I wouldn't be like looking too much into last season. Saquon Barkley really didn't have anything to play for. Giants weren't going to the Super Bowl playoffs or even close to even winning the division. So I feel as though, with the injuries, is very unfortunate, untimely, unpredictable. So we kind of just got to clean slate it, wipe it away, new offense, new aggressive offense, and et cetera, et cetera. Now, for Daniel Jones, I'm not sold yet. I haven't seen him play under the system. I haven't seen who they're going to bring in, et cetera, for competition if they do, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm hands off from Daniel Jones this entire season, regardless of what happens, regardless of the coach talk, regardless if he comes out a winner on draft day, free agency, whatever. I'm just hands off from Daniel Jones. I wouldn't be going out there to buy, but if you're in a situation where you have to buy this guy, or if you have to get a quarterback for the cheap, okay, then Daniel Jones has that rushing upside. He has that upside to where you're able to get him in the red zone where he's making plays, potential rushing touchdowns, and et cetera, which is fine. But again, I just don't know how he's going to look in the system. I don't know how I'm going to feel about him on my roster or even in my starting lineup. If you can get him for cheap, like cheap as dirt or free as air, then okay, whatever the case may be, then in full send it. But for me, I'm not going out to go buy him. I'm not wasting my time. I'm not wasting my picks, players, and energy. So there's that. So not much more players that need to touch on this offense that are fantasy relevant. Sterling Shepard, maybe, but he's always been a guy in limbo. Some leagues he goes undrafted. Some leagues he's just rotting on the waiver wire. Some leagues he's just on somebody's bench. It's just weird. You know what I mean? The dude started off the season great. I feel as though he changed his number. He had a new spark. He gave me Robert Wood vibes, to be honest, taking all these targets. He became a target hog. And then once again, he ended back up injured. That's really where he lives at, in the blue tent. So it's just annoying to be somebody that has shares of Sterling Shepard or even think, want to go buy him. It's just, yeah, I'm pretty much done with him. So I really don't have any take or input on Sterling Shepard. So I really don't have any thoughts on him. So it's kind of just like he is where he is. If he's on your roster, he's on your roster. If he's on your bench, he's on your bench. If he's on the waiver wire, he's on the waiver wire. Call it a day. You know what I mean? But Giants fans, you need to be excited, get amped up. You need to be, hopeful that, Daniels could be activated, hopeful that Daboll brings his offense at a level at least where you guys can finish second in the division, because the division's up for grabs, man. Cowboys are up and down. Eagles are inconsistent. Washington, they're still in shambles, trying to figure out their offense and their quarterback situation. So this will be the time where you guys can make some noise in that division and hopefully come out with a dub, man. Let's talk playoffs. Let's talk Giants playoffs 2022. Let's put it in stone. Let's put it in a universe, and let's full send it. So this wraps up another great episode of Real Deal Fantasy HQ. Just going over the Giants offense with Brian Daboll as the head coach. And I feel as though you guys should be excited. We're going to see some great things from fantasy, some great things in real life football. Make sure you guys hit that link in the bio, prizepicks.com. Sign up today using promo code FCO. You guys be set up for success, man. It's free money. They're matching up to $100. You put in 50, you get 50. You put in 100, you get 100. It's free money. Double it up. Let's make some cash this season. So I'll see you guys next week for another great episode of Real Deal Fantasy HQ with your boy LQ. Peace.